Hello! That was really pathetic, but that's all right. Actually, before we get started, I wanted to teach everyone a bit of a lesson. I want everyone just to put down their computers for a second. I want everyone to stand up. And just so you know, I can see you, so if you don't stand up, I can see that too. Yeah. Yep, stand up. That's good. That's good. Okay. You know, we've just had the morning break, or the afternoon break. We're all feeling a little bit lethargic. I want you to put your hands out to your sides. Everyone? Yeah, that's good. Everyone. I can actually see you. Just so you know, I've got eyes. That's really good. Yeah, the guy over there. Yeah, hands out to the side. Yep, good. Good work. Good work. And I want you to twist them a little bit. And I want you to learn that as I'm the presenter, I have the power to get you to do this. And now you can sit back down. So welcome, everyone. Kia ora, as we would say from my native New Zealand. Or, since I'm here in Japan, konnichiwa. Domo, domo, domo. Domo, domo. Domo, domo, domo. Yabai. So, my name's Josh. I hail from this small island in the middle of the South Pacific, where we're known for our hobbits, our business time, and where we have more sheep than people. I come from the city called Wellington, the capital. Beautiful, lovely at night, fantastic coffee, amazing amounts of wind. I shit you not, I've been on a flight like that as well. It is a city of 400,000 people. Yeah. I want you to put that in comparison here, 400,000. Let's compare this to the craziness of Tokyo, right? This is your subway map. This is your subway. Shibuya itself has 200,000 people. That means 2 Shibuyas equals 1 Wellington. You have 13 million people in Tokyo. We have 4.5 in New Zealand. You are a country, you are a city of 3 New Zealands. So I want to thank everyone at RubyKaigi for, see, this is a problem. I can't actually pronounce this very well. I keep screwing it up. I keep going to say RubyKaigi. So thank you very much, RubyKaigi. I'm here to talk about scaling is hard, so let's go server shopping. But I want to let you in on a really little secret, a bit of a spoiler actually to be a little bit clearer. We just threw money at it. All of our scaling, we've thrown money at the problem. But for you to understand why we've thrown money at it, I want to take a little bit of a step back. Now, is this working all right? Can people hear me all right? Cool, awesome. What is Travis CI? Now, there's probably, I'm just going to try this out. Hands up if you've heard of Travis. Okay. There are a couple of hands that aren't, so just so you know, Travis is like Jenkins, okay? We run your tests. We are all hosted. And we do a crazy ton of open source testing. In the last 12 months, we have tested 137,000 unique open source projects. Okay, that's just 12 months. It expands over 2 years and 3 years, etc. Over an average busy day, we're doing 27,000 builds. So 27,000 builds means one request, one push to GitHub means a request to us, which equals a build. And then on top of that, we do 80,000, or just shy of 80,000 jobs. Now, a job is part of a build, or multiple jobs. In fact, on average, it's 2.96 jobs per build that we're doing. So let's take a look at ThoughtBot Paperclip, for example. ThoughtBot has this as their build. This is an average build. It is 15 jobs. And why it's 15 jobs is because they're testing 5 rubies against 3 different gem files. equaling 15 jobs. The whole point of open source is about testing different combinations, because at the end of the day, you don't know who's using your open source. What you're trying to give your users of your project is confidence, that they can use your project knowing it will pass on the Ruby that they're using and the setup that they're using. But private repo testing is a little bit different. For example, we have our .com platform where we test private repos, and over the last 12 months, it's 16,000 projects. You know, quite a bit less. That's like close to 10 times less. But on that, we're doing 30,000 builds per day. We're doing more pushes to our .com platform than our .org platform. But we're doing a lot less jobs. We're doing close to half the amount of jobs. In fact, that's only 1.47 jobs per build. Even though you can split your build up and run it concurrently, people aren't doing that as much because they like to just, you know, maybe they've only got a 5-minute build. It's fine to do that in one job. They don't need combinations as much. What they need is the confidence that it will work in their production environment. They will say it's 193, Postgres database. For us to do all this testing, though, we need a few servers. In fact, we run over 68 dedicated servers. And on top of that, that's a combination of about 1,100 VMs at any one time, at our busy times of day. And all this growth took time, of course. It's not like it just happened in a month. So I'm going to talk about like the 4 life stages of Travis. I'm going to talk about the beginning. Shite shirts, mustaches, and open source. This is how I used to present at conferences, people. I would grow a mustache all to my girlfriend's despair for the process of 3 months, and I'd shave it off 5 minutes before my talk. And it's not that I don't love you, it's that I just don't want to grow a mustache anymore. Travis started as a blog post by Sven Fuchs. It was just a Rails app, it was on Heroku, it used Rescue, and it was just one server on Hetzner. And it used some WebSockets. It was all meant to be live and fun. And contributors grew, and interest grew, and the number of projects using it grew just from word of mouth, or maybe a tweet we would send out. So we needed more servers. And on top of that, as we started testing more and more projects, we needed a sandbox. We needed to make sure that if Paperclip was testing on there and deleted some files or created a database, that the next project didn't have to have this dirty environment. So we started using VirtualBox, and VirtualBox was this nice way of doing snapshots and spinning a VM up and shutting it down. And then we used RabbitMQ, so you know, we're growing in technology. We're then using 2 Rubies. We're using MRI for our web front end and JRuby for our worker and processing. It was, in fact, just one project to start off with, just Travis CI, Travis CI. Nice and uncomplicated, as all beginning projects should be. But all projects, as they gain momentum and become more complex, sometimes need a little bit of splitting up. So we split it up into, you know, multiple different parts. The worker, which was the thing that's running the jobs, doing SSH connections. Core, which does business logic. Hub, messaging. CI, which was doing the API and Ember. But we still needed more servers. And then more servers. And because we're an open source project, we're only doing open source builds. We had no inkling to do this for profit at that time. We needed sponsors. But it also meant we needed more servers. So it brought us to the next part, creating a team. So companies, crowdfunding, and onesies. And the greatest thing about this, I wonder if I've got it in there. Maybe it's just coming up. So over the next 6 months, while we'd started the company, while we're working on the open source project, I'd left my job because we're working on it every hour of the day. And then I started contracting. I did a month contracting for a very well-known Ruby firm, and then it just kind of ended. And it ended because working for a very remote time zone, it was 7 hours different, coming up to speed with their code, it wasn't for me. And I was on holiday with my girlfriend at the time and her family, And I messaged Sven and I said, why isn't this our job? I mean, we were committed. We wanted to see Travis succeed. Why were we not making this our job? Well, a couple of months later, we had found a couple of other people to bring onto the team to share the workload and people that we admired. Matthias, myself, Sven, and Konstantin Haase, who looks after Sinatra. That is the Travis team. Well, was the Travis team. But I might say, awesome uniforms, still got them to the day, do all the way up to the top, and summer edition. And from there, we had the four of us. I'm just going to leave that up for a little bit there. Burn it into your eyes. So we had a great team, but we needed to find a way to kind of fund the company. And there are many ways to fund the company, and Sven had an idea of starting up a crowdfunding campaign. So we started what we called the Love Campaign. And you could go there and you could donate money and you could get pre-access to our paid product. You could help us support the addition of new features. And from that, we raised 134,000 US, from awesome sponsors, awesome donators, awesome people in the community. We were a crowdfunded campaign. Oh, crowdfunded company, sorry. But on top of that, there were still more features that we needed to implement, and we still needed more servers. And there were more projects being added and more languages to support. We needed to actually start to focus. So we had our team, it was time to focus. And it all came down to Travis Pro. We nicknamed it Travis Pro, and this is where we wanted to get our first 10 customers. So again, we had that 134,000, but that money had to go towards things like servers and services and people. And 134,000 actually doesn't go far when you start thinking about the infrastructure and also paying a monthly salary, paying rent. And now we're all living in Berlin, which is great, nice and cheap, but we need to start charging as soon as possible. What we really need to do is we need to get the feature working, and then we need to get billing to work, and then we need to charge. But the good thing is that crowdfunding at least told us something. People wanted to be able to test their private repos on us. But while we're still building the product, bug reports are flowing in, feature requests are flying at us, and there's never a shortage of work. There never is a shortage of work in anything that we do as developers. But there's only 4 of us, and we also had to create a business. We're 4 developers trying to also be business people. Well, in October 2012, we actually launched our paid product. We got our first people, the first companies that had donated onto the product. And 6 months later, we were in the black. We were a self-sustaining company. Okay, but where are we now, though? Okay, we're 3 years since we started. We're a profitable company, self-sustaining, and we're now actually a team of 10. So we've grown as a company and scaled, but we've still got a crazy ton of servers as well. Our servers have scaled with our customers in a fairly linear fashion. We're doing 125,000 jobs per day across org and com, and we're doing about 9,000 support emails since we started up our Help Scout account about a year ago. So we're doing a lot of support as well, again, around the 10 of us. But this isn't really the story. The story that I'm trying to tell is, how did we actually scale Travis? Well, as I said, we threw servers at the problem. We threw dynos at the problem. We upgraded databases. We split apps up further. We profiled and debugged, and really we just made it rain money down on servers. If we had a capacity problem, we threw money at the problem, and then we had more servers. Because when you're building a product, there are kind of 3 things that are fighting at you: features, bug reports, and optimizations. Okay? New users want features. New users will come to you and go, hey, I love your product, but man, if it had feature Y, oh, we would totally buy into it. Your current customers, though, they want stability and they want bugs fixed. They didn't come to you because they were waiting for feature Y. They came to you because they like your product now, but they want it to continue to work and they want it to work well. Optimizations, though, are complicated because you want more customers. More customers will bring you more money. You want to keep current customers because you don't want churn. Churn costs you money. A new customer joins, you take time to onboard them, and then they leave. That is lost revenue, it's lost money, it hurts. But optimizations then get pushed to the back of the line. It's not a feature, and it's not a bug, until they are. The thing is, I'll tell a little bit of an experience. I work a lot on our workers and our virtualization. So right now we use what's called OpenVZ. We use Bluebox for this. And Bluebox uses OpenVZ, we get an API, and then we can SSH into a container, and we can run your tests. And from that, we're doing the 125,000 jobs per day. But on average, a container takes 30 seconds on average to start, with a 95th of 2 minutes 30. So, you push and you wait. And that waiting now becomes a bit of a bug to some users. It becomes an anti-feature. You no longer got the speed. In fact, this is 3 days during the week. You can tell when the US comes online. In fact, this is where Japan, New Zealand, and Australia actually send us tweets going, oh, I love it when the US is asleep because we can actually use Travis. But the thing is, what's going on is that time to boot a VM is reducing the utilization of our hosts. The slow start times are experienced by our customers and our users. They're the ones that are hitting it. So it's a dual pain. We experience the pain, we have to throw more servers, they have to wait. So growth on the platform is still increasing though. We still need to grow, we've still got more users and customers coming online. What do you do? Well, do you optimize? If you optimize, well, we don't know how long it will take. You don't know how much time you're going to invest in optimization. Time equals money. Okay? A developer is not a free resource. You still have to pay that person. Do you get more customers? Do you have them fix bugs? What do you do? So we've got the opportunity cost of other things your developer could be doing, what you could be doing versus optimizing. Does optimizing save you more money than actually working on something that might get new customers or retain current customers? And does it even mean that you'd get better utilization anyway? How long are they going to work on something and then figure out maybe it's not going to quite work? It does mean, though, if it works out, we have less server growth. And we have potential less cost. So what about just getting more servers, though? Well, we don't fix the utilization problem if we do that. But it does cost more money as well. But it's an instant fix. We still have more customers coming in, more users. We could just throw the servers at the problem, and which means more capacity, and we can handle more customers right now. And it makes our open source users happier as well. So sometimes spending more money can sometimes cost you less. And it's sometimes a question of when should you optimize as well. Well, sometimes throwing money at a problem isn't a bad thing. And we have been tinkering in the background. So while we have been throwing money at the problem and we've been throwing servers at the problem, we have been tinkering when we can find some time. And I've been tinkering a lot on Docker. So at the same time, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert. Docker is going to become a very core part of our infrastructure. We have a 3-second boot time. So much better utilization. On top of that, we can run it on things like EC2 instead of dedicated hosts. We can scale it up and down. We can use different instances as well. If you have a look at an R3 instance on EC2, all memory. You could run everything in TempFS potentially. And right now, you can actually try it out. All you need to do is email us at support, and we can just flick the switch. It's an opt-in, and things will just start straight away. It's better for us for capacity planning, it means that you don't have to wait in a queue as much. You can expect to see a lot more of Docker in what Travis is doing to make sure open source is a better place to test. But to summarize really quickly, sometimes throwing money at a problem isn't a bad thing. Spending money can sometimes cost less. But also, as a little treat for RubyKaigi, Ruby 2.13 and 2.2.0 Preview 1 will be, Hiro, when's it going to be ready?
Within a couple of hours.
Within a couple of hours. So, all you need to do is add to your .travis.yaml file for the projects that you're testing 2.1 and we'll use the latest version of 2.1, or 2.2 and we'll use Preview 1, and when the full release comes out, or even RC1, we'll upgrade it to that. So you'll always be testing on the latest patch version. Bam, okay? Also, one last thing. As Docker is becoming more of a centerpiece on what we're doing, so is Travis CI Enterprise. Okay? So that is what Docker will also be sitting and helping work there. I love stock photos. And I'd also like to thank our first three, well, not just our first three, but three of our most valued customers, including GitHub, who are using Travis CI Enterprise today. So thank you very much for having me, and are there any questions? No questions. You can speak in Japanese.
では質疑応答の時間に入りたいと思います。5分ぐらい余ったので2、3個ぐらいの質問は拾えると思います。日本語でやっても多分大丈夫だと思うので、do you have a translation receiver right now?
No.
Okay. じゃあちょっと英語の方がいいかもしれないですね。質問がある方は挙手をお願いします。If you have any questions, raise your hands.
We got one over there.
Okay.
So for that, do you see any trade-offs that you have to do with Docker, like downsides or negatives right now?
Yes, there is one big trade-off, which I probably just glazed over completely right now. So if you know about virtualization at all, or much, and believe me, I had to learn a lot of this. There are two types of virtualization, containerization and full hypervisors. So containerization is very low level, talks to the kernel, it's built into the kernel. Now we use OpenVZ right now, which is additions to the kernel done separately. It's a few versions behind and it's maintained separately. But it allows for user namespacing, which allows you to do sudo. LXC doesn't have that at the moment, which is part of, LXC is a set of tools built on top of C groups, built into the kernel. And Docker, which is using C groups and sometimes LXC, doesn't have namespacing built in right now, which means if we offer a root user and you escape the container, you become root user. It's a security hazard. So we have to turn that off for now. So if you use the Docker setup, you can't use apt-get, you can't use sudo. But it also means that if you have one project that does need that, you can route to our current infrastructure, and if you don't need it, you can go to our new infrastructure. So the way that we're building it forward is we're looking at using full hypervisors, possibly OpenStack, maybe just raw KVM, which will allow sudo, and also other capabilities because some things are turned off in containers. While if you don't need that, you would go to the lightweight of alternative, which is Docker.
Thanks.
Any questions? 日本語でも何かあれば挙手お願いします。
Hi. I've got a few open source projects that actually integrate with Docker. Do you see any way that I'd be able to test those on your platform if it's using Docker?
Yes, and both no. So you can't use Docker in Docker. That would require capabilities and admin or privilege features to be turned on, which again, is a security hazard. The idea is for us to also offer hypervisors. So you'd have the KVM, have Docker in that, and you'd have full isolated environment. So then you could, create a container and push it to production or staging. You'd have more of a means to do pretty much anything. So if you had a simple project just testing a Rails app with bundle install and running against MySQL, you can use the basic Docker setup. If you need something more specialized, you can go to the KVM setup. We're not there yet. These are some of the plans. It'll take a while to get there, but just to give you a bit of a teaser.
Do you think it would be a problem if your Docker instance on the host listened on TCP as well as on a Unix socket, so that you could effectively, because that host IP is known, so you could actually run the Docker client in a container, but talk to the host Docker?
Only if we share the socket can you do that, and we turn off intercommunication between containers. So you can't get to the raw host unless we allow it, and that's completely not allowed.
So wait a little bit.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, cool.
じゃあ、次の質問に移りたいと。
Oh, down here. It'll be your turn soon. That sounds creepy.
So my question is not like about the tech, but so your talk was like how to be successful tech startup, but Travis CI is startup for the developer, so not for ordinary people. I mean, so if you run some other business or service for just for consumer or ordinary people, so how do you deal with it? And I wanna hear your idea about how did you come up with this way?
Sorry, how do you mean? Sorry, I don't fully understand.
So I wanted me. So I mean, so Travis CI is obviously very successful tech startup, and so if you run another business for consumer, so how do you deal with it?
It's a really hard question to answer. We're lucky. I won't lie in that a lot of our success has been, a bit of luck and good timing. And you kind of need that in anything that you're building. We were lucky that at the time no one was testing open source. We're fortunate that people got behind our open source project. And if you do it for consumers, well, you're going to talk to a different audience, and you have to court that audience differently. So I don't have much of an answer to that, I'm sorry, except that it is hard to compare, but I would say the one piece of advice I can give, which I think is quite universal, is you need to charge as soon as you can for your product. Because as soon as you say there is a beta period that lasts for a year and it's free, as soon as you start charging, people will leave that beta period. People will leave it because they're there on a cost basis. Do not devalue your product.
Thank you.
One last question.
I guess it's him because he went first. Yeah.
One last question. You are switching to Docker, which, you have the problem with the sudo generally, but one approach would be custom images. So provide, give you a URL with the Docker images, do that and run that.
Potentially, but that has a downside now. You have to orchestrate how you download all of those images onto all the servers and not run out of disk space and flush them afterwards. And I mean, there is as much complication into that idea as there is much awesomeness. Like, I love this idea. But until you get sudo or username spacing, people could game the system and create a hole that allows them to get out of the container potentially. And the one thing that we have to be the most careful of is it's your code that's running on our servers. Security is the utmost importance. So if we have to turn off sudo, we have to turn off sudo. And if we have to turn off ports and capabilities, we have to turn that off, because the last thing I want is any possibility of your code not being your code. Cool, well, thank you very much for having me.